Hello, my name is Emma, and welcome to part 2 of my Redesigning Security Breach series. Woo! In the last installment, we went over these guys, so if you want to see that along with a loose idea of my rewrite, it will be linked below. But make sure to come back here after you're done. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. As a little recap, if you haven't seen my last video, this redesign is an alternate universe in which the game Security Breach is reworked from a mega pizzaplex in the future to a crusty dusty theme park in the 2000s. All the animatronics are reused from previous Freddy Fazbear pizza places and redone to look like they are from the 80s for parent nostalgia bait. There's still William Afton's crimes, only this takes place way after as the brand tries to clean their image once more. But as you know, that rarely happens in FNAF. Something's always gotta go wrong. In this video, we will be going over additional characters that are fan favorites and are some of the most controversial villains in FNAF's history, aka the most challenging characters to rewrite and not make someone upset. There's also a lot, and I mean a lot, we have to talk about in this video because this video right here made some waves in the FNAF Twitter community that I was not prepared for. And with that being said, I feel right now I need to clearly lay out my intentions with this series that I failed to convey in my last video. 1, I am not trying to make Security Breach better. This is simply an exercise for fun and complete self-indulgence for me as something I'd like to see FNAF as. 2, this is an alternate universe I'm creating and technically a concept for a fan game. I'm no longer trying to fit my designs into the actual FNAF storyline. Some question this video as a redesign altogether. Honestly, it's up for you to decide. In my opinion, it is, since I'm directly taking these characters, their color schemes, even some of their personalities, and putting them into my own designs. But again, to each their own. I mostly say redesign because the YouTube algorithm likes that term. I don't make the rules. And 3, please don't take my ideas or criticisms too seriously. FNAF is a deeply flawed storyline, and I think everybody who's a FNAF fan can agree to that to some extent. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it as is. There's so much interesting and cool ideas to come out of this franchise. So please keep your joy, do your thing, don't let me stop you. If you don't like my ideas, that's fine. All I ask is that you be respectful. Thank you. Alright, with that out of the way, we can get going. Writing or creating a horror story is not something I've dabbled in much. Not until creating this YouTube channel, so getting some help and direction was needed. Thankfully, I had this video sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest learning community for creatives with thousands of online courses including illustration, writing, work management, and so much more. There's so much on the site, you're bound to find something to your liking. Me personally, I've been following the class Let's Write Horror by Undurnstround. They encourage you to write along to their process, and I think that's a very effective way to learn. I really love Skillshare's on-demand style. It allows for you to go at your own pace and pick up where you left off, no problem. If you're looking to learn a new skill or manage your time better as you get cozy this fall season, I'd recommend Skillshare. The first 500 people to use my link in the description and in the pinned comment will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you, Skillshare, and let's get back to the video. For the first design, we are going to start out with the sun and moon. I have absolutely no problem with the sun and moon designs. They are my favorite FNAF characters to come out of this Steel Wool era. They feel really OG FNAF to me, and I think that's why I like them so much. Like, compared to the other animatronics in the Pizzaplex, they are very different stylistically. Makes me think they're repurposed, but that's just my personal theory. Again! I believe they are supposed to be one animatronic that changes when the lights turn on and off. Their official name in the game is the daycare attendant, which makes sense since they run the Sunnyside daycare. That, may I remind you, is littered with random generators throughout. But you know what? It tracks. Fazbear Entertainment is not known for their safety precautions. The sun is tame and doesn't pose as a threat to the player at all. The moon, on the other hand, is intimidating and disciplinary. The moon also flies around on a wire around the Pizzaplex, which I think is cool and novel, but logic? How and why would this character be able to travel everywhere outside of jump scaring the player in game? Nitpicking, I know. Hey, maybe he does little shows outside of the daycare or something. Yeah, let's go with that. Another thing with the logic part, and what have made some theorize that the sun and moon are separate animatronics, is that their design changes slightly between forms. Like, I can't see practically how their outfits could change this drastically, but hey, it's probably that high-tech, futuristic stuff that this Pizzaplex has. You know, the place that has generators running throughout a place. I'm sorry. I know it's part of the gameplay. It just bugs me. I'm so sorry. With that said though, the daycare is my favorite place in the Pizzaplex, mostly because it feels the most down to earth and relatable. I mean, who hasn't been in one of these things before? You can smell the stinky feet smell miles away. Also, don't worry, I know about Eclipse. I didn't include him in this video because I didn't find it relevant at the moment. In the future, I probably will, but for right now, he will be absent. On to my design. So my thought process went in the way of practicality. How would Sun and Moon twitch between each other if they were a real animatronic, and how would I make them fit in with the others I've already created? For the sun visually, I looked loosely to the sun from the Rockafire Explosion Band, as well as various human animatronics from the 70s through the 90s. I tried really hard not to copy too directly, as I feel I went a little too hard last time. There was a few viral tweets on Twitter about this, as I mentioned earlier. I won't be including screenshots or the users. You can look or just take my word for it. I'm doing this because I really don't want any harassment to anybody who said anything. That's not the vibe. I don't want that. So please don't. The most popular grievance with my designs was that I made Freddy too similar to Billy Bob, and I fully agree. I changed him up a bit and boom. I think he looks a lot more original now. Maybe he still looks like Billy Bob, but oh well, it's the vibe I was going for. You live, you learn. Seeing people talk about this video made me realize some actively hate FNAF redesigns that look similar to Rockafire or any animatronic band that's existed in the same vein as FNAF. Not everyone, of course. Some just don't like Billy Bob with a hat, which is valid. Sorry. But I had no idea this was seen as cringe. I didn't know. I just thought it was cool. Like every design I've seen of this, I'm like, yeah. But you know, that just comes down to opinion. I don't know. I like it. You can hate it. I don't care. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do my thing. We will touch on more of this later. Don't worry. But let's get back to the sun. I followed the OG Sun's outfit pretty closely, but I also took a lot of inspiration from vintage clown dolls because it's clear the sun and moon are very clown. And vintage clown doll led me to the I Spy aesthetic, which I think fits really well in this kind of old-timey whimsical feeling. I struggled a lot getting the face down, mostly because I don't have very good references to go off of. I think he turned out pretty good though. I'd imagine his whole face, including the sun part, is rubbery and flexible. I think the whole animatronic will be very plush and soft because he deals with young kids all the time. The daycare will be very generic. I feel like in the 2000s, these types of play places were literally in every restaurant ever. This place cannot be fully run by an animatronic like in the original, so there will be employees along with the sun and moon being more used for entertainment. The animatronics are not that advanced in my version. They're not sentient like in Security Breach. They can't have logical conversations with humans. They're, of course, advanced enough to walk around. I think walking around is integral to Five Nights at Freddy's, even if it's not a thing in real life. I don't know, I can suspend my disbelief that far. As I said, I would compare their interactions with people to that of a Furby there, but not really. When they perform, I'd imagine they have more personality because they're programmed that way and it's pre-recorded lines, all that kind of jazz. The sun's personality will be very cheery and energetic, similar to the original, but maybe toned down like 1000%. I think the daycare would have some kind of stage for Sundrop to do puppet shows and sing songs. Every day they'd have nap time for the children, and as the sun's performance concludes, the lights dim and it's time for the moon to come and calm the children down. For the sun and moon's change/transition, this was the best solution I came up with. This animatronic has a body that spins. The front and the back interchange when the lights come on and off. I would compare this to the mayor's head in The Nightmare Before Christmas. If the sun turns around, you'll see the moon's outfit and vice versa. It's not the most elegant solution, but I think that's what makes it feel more like a crappy theme park. For the face, I made it so the moon's half would glow in the dark. They closed their left eye to contribute to the illusion that there's just the crescent moon and nothing else. The sun's points would also fold down behind the head, which would allow the moon's hat to pop up. The face is pretty flat, so I think the hat would be some kind of 2D flat cutout. The original moon's design had these stars as well, and I love that they glow. That's such a cute detail. I'd imagine mine would project stars around the room. I feel like the originals maybe did that, but I can't remember right now. I've actually never seen Sun and Moon designed in this fashion before. Like, I've seen a lot of FNAF redesigns that take inspiration from real life animatronics, but I've never seen them designed like this. If someone's done it, let me know. I want to see. I would like to see it, please. Sun and Moon also have a very specific kind of fandom around them. Let's just say they are the Sans Undertale of FNAF. The sexy man, if you will. Go off though if that's your thing. I'm not stopping you. But because of that fandom, I was a bit worried designing them. I'm not going to please everyone, but I tried really hard to get an outcome that I liked, and I think I succeeded because I love the way they turned out. Each of them have special tunes from a music box inside of them. I think Sun and Moon are some of the oldest animatronics in the park, of course with updated software and appearance, but they do have some quirky flaws and vintage elements. Like, I bet they're more jerky in their movements than other animatronics. I think that's interesting. Here they are! Though this was a bit of a struggle for me, I like them. I hope you guys like them too. Ooh, I'm nervous. Vanny is known as one of the most disappointing main antagonists from the series. She was hyped up in the leaked toys and figures from Funko. Before Security Breach actually came out, people were really excited to see how she was in the game. But unfortunately, she was barely present and didn't make a huge impact on the story or the endings. This is for a multitude of reasons. One being that Security Breach became bigger for Steel Wool to handle. A lot of things got cut and the short end of the stick, including many of the endings. Another being fans' perception. Many are of the opinion that Vanny was hyped up by fans because of leaks, but she was never supposed to be a replacement for Afton or a big villain at all. Thus, her low presence makes sense, and people are only disappointed because they saw her in the wrong way. I personally was disappointed with Vanny, only because I wish she was in the game more and had more of an impact on the events of the Pizzaplex. I mean, she's got a really cool design after all. Vanny's story, and in turn Vanessa's story, is that she was possessed and coerced by Glitchtrap, the main antagonist in Steel Wool's previous game, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. From what I can gather, Glitchtrap is Afton's uploaded into the VR game, because no, this isn't just a VR game in real life, it's also a VR game in the universe. Vanessa is a security guard in the Pizzaplex who is another one of the main threats in the game. It's debated if Vanessa is actually Vanny, but I believe it is. It's heavily implied in game and with the ending, so I don't know. At face value, it doesn't seem to matter that much. Honestly, at this point, you gotta come up with your own conclusions about FNAF. Nothing will be confirmed, and anything that is 100% the closest to the truth theory ever will be argued by someone else, and they could be totally right. It doesn't matter anymore, man. I don't know. Anyway, I mentioned in my previous video on this that my idea with Vanny was for her to be an imitation killer. This often happens in real life, unfortunately. People idolize serial killers or horror movies and want to recreate their crimes/events of the film. I believe this is what many theorized Vanny's deal to be before the game came out. And FNAF Twitter also did not like this. This one is down to a difference of opinion, of course, but it did for a time make me rethink my idea. Apparently, it's been said and done a lot. I didn't know that. My bad. But as time went on and as I started to design Vanny, I just leaned into it more.
He gon' get me!
I think it was a little bit out of spite. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna do the cringe thing anyway. But as I thought more about it, it just made more and more sense for my alternate universe. I don't know. I think when horror takes inspiration from real life, it makes it more scary, you know? But let me know any of your ideas. I'd love to know. Like, what would you do with this concept? I'm curious. So, I'd imagine Vanny to be a big weirdo loser who immerses herself in all things Afton, Freddy Fazbear's, all of that. She learns all she can about him and joins internet forums about him and Freddy Fazbear's. In the original game, it's implied that Glitch Trap went after Vanny because she was an easy target. She was vulnerable and a loyal follower no matter what. So she made a good candidate to do whatever his motives are. I don't know. Just be evil, I guess. I kind of take inspiration from that, but in a different way. Alright, now please hear me out. In my version, Vanny is a huge fan of William Afton. I'm sure it started out as a morbid curiosity turned idolization. She began to collect Fazbear memorabilia, and one day, as she was browsing online, found the original yellow bunny suit / animatronic that William Afton committed his crimes in. Vanny quickly went to the location to buy the stinky animatronic from a closed down place called Fazbear Frights. She went home and restored the animatronic to fully work again, like it was new. You know how people have those full animatronic bands and stages in their basement? Yeah, that's her. Also, I find this idea kind of funny because recently I saw a post saying that Chucky from Child's Play and William Afton have the same storyline, and it's so true. The reason it made me think of that is because in the second Child's Play, Chucky is reborn and made new again. Vanny had no idea that Afton had died in that suit long ago. She just thought it smelled bad because it was old. But the animatronic started whispering things to her, talking to her, or that's what she claimed. The yellow bunny would be still on his makeshift stage, completely unmoving, but still would talk. Afton convinced her to continue what he didn't finish, and she listened. I mean, she was already pretty deep in it. This just pushed her over the edge. Vanny had snuck into Fazbear Funland as a security guard and began staying in an old storage building to plan what she was going to do next. The first logical step was to build her own suit. So Vanny originally has a very obviously handmade suit. All I'm wondering is how she got that bodycon so accurate when she has visual stitch lines. Joke, I'm kidding. Anyway, for my version of Vanny, her costume base is made out of an old Fazbear Easter Bunny costume. The other blue bits are from another animatronic that was retired from the park. In my last video, I mentioned Bonnie was replaced by Monty for marketability. Bonnie was placed in storage and was already a rabbit, so Vanny thought his parts would work for what was missing of the Easter outfit. For the finishing touch, the glove from Afton's suit, so she could have a piece of him to guide her. I really don't like Vanny in the best way. She freaks me out. Her outfit looks like it smells, man. Like, pee, take a shower. Vanny will begin Afton's business in the park all over again, as well as being a threat to the player in-game. But in the end, she will get arrested before she can do that much, thankfully. And after Vanny's incident in the park, Fazbear Entertainment realized they can't recover again, so Fazbear Funland gets fully abandoned, nature taking over. Editing Emma here, I just thought of an alternate storyline that piggybacks off of this concept, in which there's a strong belief that the Afton killings didn't happen and it was completely sensationalized. And Vanny believes that. She's just a big Fazbear enthusiast and collects memorabilia. And when she sees that there's a good deal on a yellow rabbit suit online, she takes the opportunity to take it home and restore it, only to start hearing voices and start being manipulated by Afton. I think that's kind of the best of both worlds, but you can decide which version you like better. Here's Vanny. She reminds me of something I don't want to say because it's really gross, but if you know, you know. Let's see if you're on the same wavelength as me. For this last bit, I thought I'd cap it off with my previous designs, Withered. This was a fun little thing to do. I think it gives them a whole new feeling, you know? These animatronics are left outside roaming for years, so they're gonna look rough. I've said this before, but as a refresher, my idea is that these animatronics are on a fixed schedule. That does not change. They walk around, perform shows, and do activities, and when the park was abandoned, workers put out dummies so the animatronics would still run and interact with quote-unquote guests. So if the park ever came back, they'd still be in working order. I was really inspired by There Will Come Soft Rains, a short story from the 60s. If you want more context, I'd really recommend. It's a good story. So yeah, I really like the idea of the animatronics continuing to run and function and performing to absolutely no one. It's so creepy. All of these came out pretty good, I think. The one that low-key makes me want to throw up is Chica. I mean, ew, nasty. I didn't mean to make her that gross, but eesh. And I bet you thought it was over, huh? I bet you thought I was done. Don't look at the runtime. No, there's one more character I want to touch on that some of you might find surprising. The Mimic is a character technically introduced in the book series Tales from the Pizzaplex. However, he makes his first appearance in Security Breach's DLC, Ruin. In the DLC, you play as Cassie, who goes into the Pizzaplex looking for Gregory, the kid you played as in the last Security Breach. The Mimic tricks Cassie using Gregory's voice, leading her to it and freeing it unknowingly. The design is basically an endoskeleton in Ruin. I mean, he puts on little costumes and stuff, which I'm really confused by these mascot costumes. What's up with that? Oh, wait, they might touch on that on the new game. Ooh. In my last video, I believe I mentioned how I didn't like the Mimic, and I'm gonna ease up on that statement now after learning about his theoretical story and the new game, as I mentioned, which looks very promising. Love this new design. It's so awesome. The Mimic has evidence of being around since very early on in FNAF history. Of course, it's only referenced in the books, but I suppose the idea is pretty interesting. You know, this thing is lingering in the program that Fazbears try to get rid of over and over again, and he just keeps coming back. I'm still not a fan of major sci-fi elements in FNAF, it's just not my thing, but a robot that mimics human voices and mannerisms is something I find really creepy and cool, so I stand corrected, I guess. I just personally would go a different way about it. Here I go again, yapping extraordinaire. The Mimic is an AI that trains itself off of learned information from humans. Sometimes it would be good and sometimes it would be bad, but more times than not, the Mimic would get violent. Now, for my version of the Mimic, my idea is very stripped from the original, and it will be very, very different. This entity is not going to span throughout the series or anything. He's actually one of the newest animatronics in Fazbear Funland. When the park opened, the team was very ambitious in bringing life to this new phase of Fazbears. I'd imagine they wanted something new and exciting to entice people to come, so they made a groundbreaking interactive experience with a new animatronic to go with. In the Pizzaplex book series, the Mimic plays a twisted game of hide and seek with some of the teenagers who break into the Pizzaplex, killing most of them. That got me thinking that a hide and seek animatronic that's interactive with kids would be a really cool idea. In my version, the Mimic comes from this game. He has his own building to play hide and seek in with the kids, and in my head this place emulates being outside in a really uncanny way. Like, ooh, this is terrible but also awesome. The mimic can hide and contort its body in really small spaces to make the game more challenging for kids to find him, which is scary. He is the newest animatronic, as I said, and Fazbear Entertainment wanted to try a new interactive system and program with him. He learns off of children and emulates their actions and even their voices to throw off kids during the game. Overall, it was a hit and kids love seeing the complex robot and getting to know him. However, the more the animatronic learned, the smarter it got, even emulating some children's bad behavior and starting fights. But the mimic was a heavy machine, and the children he fought had no competition. Like, they had no chance. This led to some incidents that made people start to dislike the attraction. Often parents wouldn't let their kids even go near it. Fazbear had gone way over budget with this. They tried to salvage it as many times as they could. They even changed his design to be a cat since people found him creepy after things started happening. After kids stopped visiting the mimic, he began to escape, trying to interact with the children outside of the attraction. This led to more outbursts, and it was clear that they had to take care of this problem quickly. They shut the mimic inside of his hide-and-seek building, sealing it shut with him inside. They couldn't actually dismantle him since every time they tried, he would run away. So they tricked him back into the building and quickly locked it down. The building he's in is turned into a fake building like ones in Disney World, and he was never mentioned by the company again. He's still in there trying to get out though. Kids made stories about being able to hear him banging on the walls when it's real quiet at night, but no one really knows. Fazbear since this has not dabbled in advanced robots, partially because of budget and because it's way too much to handle. I think it's kind of sad and also scary because the mimic is in there almost mimicking himself, like echoing off the walls, and his quote-unquote anger is building. So I don't know, I find it interesting. This is very different, I know. I also couldn't come up with a name for him. I should have looked at what the mimic's older names were. Please let me know your ideas in the comments. His design was very, this is a 90s child. That was my whole idea. I based his looks off of this old showbiz animatronic band that seemed to be pretty short-lived. But also, as I was drawing him, he looks like Alfred E. Newman from Mad. So I'm making that comparison before anyone else can. I know one of the scary things about the mimic is his tall stature, and as I was researching him, I was like, yeah, that would be scary chasing after me, I will admit. But I also think him being small and being able to squeeze in places is also like, ooh, no. In my version of Ruin, I think you'd play as a teenager with a group of friends going to the park in modern day after it's been closed for a long time. They heard about the myth of the mimic, so they want to go see if it's real or not by breaking into the building he's allegedly being sealed in. Of course, they find him and chaos ensues, yada yada yada. I feel like this might be a little bit of a controversial concept. I haven't seen a lot of people tackle the mimic. I know some people absolutely love him though. Me personally, I like parts of the mimic, but you know. I hope you enjoyed this video. FNAF is complicated, it's fun, it's weird, it's wacky, and I know a lot of people really love it, so again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not trying to ruin your good times or fix anything. If I had Scott Cawthon's brain in 2014 and I created this series, this is how I would have done it. You just think of it like that, okay? Also, I want to say anything I've gotten wrong about FNAF in the past, I apologize for this video, it's a little dated. I think I just got a lot wrong that I thought was confirmed. Let me know which design was your favorite. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment, and as always, peace.